Well, hello there and welcome to the kitchen of the dollhouse. And what are we cooking up today? Well, my friends, another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Gust Elfers for February 21st, the day of intimacy. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of intimacy. We had one that was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. I had to search and scour to find out what it was called. So what is it? Boom, it's a conversation bench. That's right. Something that you can ostensibly sit down upon if you have someone you're intimate with so you can watch each other's backs. That's right. Now, does that speak to the day of intimacy? Hey, maybe a little bit. Sometimes these things don't seem to at all, but I would say that might in one form or fashion of another. That having been said, visual representational image aside, it's not altogether all too important. What is important, however, is it's February 21st, and so ostensibly somebody's birthday. That's right. So if your birthday is February 21st, I just want to say happy birthday. That's what's important. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may happen to be, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday, if that's the circumstance. But for everybody else joining us randomly or here more ideally to celebrate the February 21st birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast. Almost forgot the name there. So I like to live up to the namesake. But I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled a 6 and a 2 for an 8. That's right. Now, what is synchronicity? You're probably wondering. Well, my friends, as I've heard it told, the universe or the higher powers that be will oftentimes put things in our path to help us manifest our goals or realize our aspirations. But if we got the blinders up to such things, hey, we may not be apt to see them for what they are. And oftentimes, we're getting out in the world, we are very narrow of focus, so we're not necessarily apt to lend a lot of the credence to such things, even if we do see them. So this is a little bit of an exercise, if you like, to help you identify those things. And how do we do that? Well, we need some kind of sign, but some kind of sign that we can, I don't know, what you say, mutually agree upon between us and the universe. Something we can't help but notice. That's right. Your daily numbers. Your 6 and your 2 for an 8. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers that I rolled for you. The intention is there. But it's probably advisable you take your own set of dice if this is something you want to try out. All right? So you can ascribe directional values to number sets as well as time limits with which to go in those directions. You're basically taking your hands off the wheel and letting the universe drive, all right? So once that's figured out, just pick a place that's maybe near and dear to your heart or a place that you would like to explore, perhaps. I often like to bring up the town square, just downtown in general. But once you get down there, make sure you get those blinders off, like I said. You never know, the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme, just outside of the numbers or maybe in concert with them. You never know, maybe things start crossing your path quite redundantly. Like you just keep seeing, I don't know, let's take the visual representational image. You just start seeing a bunch of unique benches out there. Maybe you're passing furniture stores, they got them out there for sale. Maybe you find yourself going through the park and here you got benches that maybe that doesn't stand out, but maybe there's something unique about them. Maybe they're all closed off to anybody sitting on them. Yeah, I would take that as a sign, you're on the right path. There's just something unique going on. That said, that kind of thing in mind, it doesn't have to be a bench. It could be just about anything, so stay eagle-eyed for such things. But you get off after your first directional value and time limit. Maybe you're not seeing anything. All right, hey, don't get dissuaded. Just take some time, look around your environment. Maybe you just so happen to notice something small, like the street you're on is, 62nd Avenue or 8th Avenue, whatever the case may be. It's your numbers there that you're seeing, all right? I would take that to represent the universe telling you you're on the right path. And who's to say, maybe the old number 8 bus pulls up right around this time and you was just starting to doubt, right? You was just starting to doubt. Boom, the number 8 line. And, well, do I get on this thing? And maybe you just so happen to have perfect change in your pocket to ride, all right? And I know you might not like to ride the bus, but I would say the universe is kind of crying out at you. to try and take a chance with it, all right? So get on there. Maybe as soon as you pay the toll, the fee, whatever it's called, the fare, and you find a place to sit, ostensibly on a bench. Hey, maybe you're ready to get off this thing already, all right? So roll yourself a time value. Maybe no sooner than you look at the number on the dice, and let's just say it's 8 again. You look up, and hey, maybe somebody right in front of you is wearing a sports jersey with an 8 on it, all right? Hey, you know what? This might seem a little bit, whatever, or, coincidence if you like, but hey, you know what? Lean into it. Start stacking up the coincidences if you like, all right? So I think they're interchangeable with synchronicities. And I say this because, you know what? Sometimes we need to chase a white rabbit down, if you like. An individual or some kind of anomaly in our environment can serve as the thing that we're chasing after, or that we should follow, if you like. That said, maybe that individual's the person that you should, or that's when you should get off the bus, if you like, when that person does. All right. Now you're probably thinking that's a little stalkerish. Hey, I'm apt to agree with you. That's why you give these folks a buffer if that's what happens to present during the day. But if they do happen to confront you, you've noticed that you're stalking them, well, you should have been stalking, folks. It's not advisable, but that said, just be transparent about what you're doing. Show them your dice. Show them this video if you like. Put the onus on me. Let me take that on for you. All right? And just tell them, hey, it's my birthday. I'm trying to shake things up. And the dice roll came up, and you had on this sports jersey with the number 8. Just seeing where you were going, and at least for the next 5 minutes or whatever, that's all. And then I was gonna depart on the next track, and they go, that's pretty crazy. Like, I know it is. Look at this guy on the internet telling me to do such stuff, if you like. And they go, yeah, that's crazy too, but what's even crazier is it's my birthday too. All right, yeah, I use that example a lot, but hey, it's not outside the realm of possibility, all right? Maybe this whole thing was for you to make a new friend, a new acquaintance, if you like, and maybe you just so happen to find a bench, a conversation bench, sit down, get to know each other, all right? So I think you get the idea of synchronicity. Let's get in to the birthday read. That's why you're here, right? All right, your month is February, your day's the 21st, your sign is 1 to 3 degrees Pisces of the Aquarius Pisces Cusp, and your quality and elements is mutable water. Well, all right, February 21st, the day of intimacy. Those born on February 21 struggle to express themselves on a personal level. Their early life can be largely tied up with themselves and with the internal difficulties they face. They may at first see these difficulties as originating with their environment, but usually come to realize that their own highly complex natures are the real issue. But problems, of course, can be challenges and opportunities to grow, to learn, to evolve. And most February 21 people fully accept this challenge to improve themselves and grow enormously as a result. By coming to terms with and perhaps overcoming their own emotional sensitivities, they can realize a kind of self-awareness attained by few. And they can also display remarkable insight into the emotions and motivations of others. One of the highest attainments of February 21 people seems simple enough. That's right, intimacy. But for them to share themselves fully with another human being, to allow that person to see them as they are without defenses, is perhaps the greatest gift they can give. And perhaps may arise when that special person ignores the gift, or problems may arise rather, and they do not recognize its specialness, or they're not interested. And the resultant shock to these sensitive individuals can be devastating, and it can be a long time before they again dare to open themselves that way again. It is difficult for the ego-oriented, feeling people born on this day to be objective about their work, since what they create seems indivisible from who they are. And therefore, negative criticism is particularly difficult for them to handle, since in their eyes, criticism may amount to a personal attack. Particularly artists, craftspeople, entertainers, and public servants born on this day will have to toughen their skin, rather, if they wish to be successful in the world. And it is not uncommon for February 21 people to have had very difficult childhoods emotionally, with the focus of their problems on the parent of the opposite sex. And as a result of either being overly supervised and minutely criticized, or when attention was most needed, ignored, those born on this day may develop in the former case into unusually quiet, secretive individuals, and in the latter case rather, into flamboyant and extroverted types. A healthy and contented love life may also be elusive, and something they will search the world over to find. For some, a loving partner affirms their worth, and for others, such a person can be a much-needed confidant, one who is intimate with their most sensitive secrets. In either case, few individuals are forced to live more closely in touch with their inner world than February 21 individuals. For them to find emotional happiness and peace can be eminently satisfying, but generally involves an entire lifetime of growth and effort. Well, all right, quite the fascinating birthday breakdown. I would say this is one of the more hyper-focused kind of entries that we encounter quite a bit the past few periods. More often than not, these readings tended to be very well-rounded, to say what you're like as a partner, a friend, maybe even as a parent, and sometimes they'd even give advice to people who were parents of the day in question. Here they really just drill down on the intimacy facet and kind of some of the other things in your life that kind of go into that, I would say, in no small part. That having been said, I thought there was a lot of value in it. I just like it when they kind of round out the personality more. But I'd say there's another argument to be had for that, to say like it helps. It doesn't necessarily help if maybe the birthday breakdown doesn't seem to speak to the individual. Yeah, who's to say? But that having been said, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary, if you like, on what we went over today, and also maybe make some connections to days previous, or maybe even the period at large. So let's dive into it, all right, and go back over everything we went over here for February 21, the day of intimacy. It says, with an early life said to be consumed with internal difficulties, the reading claims you may struggle to express yourself on a personal level. At first you may think it's your environment, but if you dig deeper, they said, you find it may be your own complex nature that's affecting such things. Hard reality to face down, I would say, or even admit to oneself, but a constant process to do, I would argue. But I agree with the reading. Such things are opportunities to learn, grow, and evolve, even if it is, in fact, the environment that's the issue. I would say it's good to self-reflect on such things in either case. The good news here is the reading claims you're apt to fully accept this challenge in addressing your emotions, and you can gain a self-awareness that few are apt to realize. Which is it's huge, considering just how many birthdays focus on this very issue. All right, but they never say as much. They never say that they gain the insight that few will gain. They did for you, though. Beyond that, and perhaps even without having achieved as much, the reading claims you have remarkable insight into your emotions, or at least into emotions and motivations, at least of others, right? A skill that you probably pick up from an admixture of all the previously mentioned dynamics at play. Interestingly, however, intimacy with another, the kind where you can share who you are, tell your secrets, if you like, it's said to be your highest attainment. And as important rather, as I think that is for any given person. If it's mentioned here for you specifically, it must be next level important, all right? So it makes sense how devastated you could be because of said intimacy if it was rebuked or even betrayed. To this end, it sounds as though this intimacy may also extend into your work if, as the reading claims, such things feel indivisible from who you are. So again, it makes sense that criticism of any kind may amount, in your eyes, as a personal attack. All right. All told, the reading essentially culminates rather, with a rehash of some previously related information with just a bit more context, whereas this childhood dynamic, they talk about how It may provide motivation to become an introvert or an extrovert, depending upon how you were treated at such times. And further importance of a confidant is interesting. They brought that up more. And I do personally think relating that you may be individuals who live in your own inner world more so than others is especially important to note. And I say that because I think it kind of affirms for me the added importance of self-awareness and striving for that goal in particular. Discovery and evolving. It's huge, and I don't think it gets drilled down nearly enough in the book, even though it gets drilled down on quite a bit. But you know what? That's just my take. It's not my birthday. It's yours. So whether you found, well, it doesn't really matter what I think is important. But I just thought I'd mention it. I just can't put enough emphasis on self-discovery and self-awareness. I think it's huge. But that having been said, that's what I had to say about your breakdown. Rehashed a few things there. Hopefully, kind of. Sometimes we get into being redundant with things. I think it's because sometimes we just need to hear it put a different way or said multiple times before we can cotton to it. And I think we drill down on that even more here. So let's move on to your numbers and your planets. Maybe we'll get some more of that reiteration. All right, here we go. Those born on the 21st of the month are ruled by the number 3, as 2 plus 1 naturally equals 3, and by the expansive planet Jupiter. And those ruled by the number 3 tend to be highly ambitious and sometimes dictatorial, it says. And let's see, the Jupiter's influences make for an expansive attitude toward the world. But coupled with Neptune's power, the ruler of Pisces, good financial judgment may also be bestowed, as well as an idealistic and spiritual outlook. All right. Very interesting. In this period, these numbers and planets entries have been rather sparse, especially in this cusp period, and I don't know why, because there's so many different elements they can drill down on. That being said, let's see if I can pick up a little bit of the slack for you and just dive in with a few more particulars. All right. We got the number 3 in the expansive planet Jupiter for traits of high ambition and, despite not being mentioned, an expansive philosophical mindset, optimism, and a desire to seek the most constructive approach to solving problems, and also material luck, all right? Especially when coupled to the planet Uranus, it would seem, for whatever reason. It's come up in the past here that when Uranus was coupled to Jupiter, those folks were apt to be pretty lucky. Now, Uranus comes in with the cusp period. It co-rules with Neptune, but we're kind of on our way out of the cusp, so you're just getting a little bit of that Uranus energy. Who's to say whether it's a part of your life or not? Much of this isn't mentioned, though, so I kind of had to go into the back of the book, get the more planetary particulars there for you, as well as just what memory served with. That said, much of this isn't mentioned, like I said, but sometimes a dictatorial attitude and idealistic spiritual concerns were mentioned here in the breakdown for you, as well as good financial judgment, at least insofar as when coupled with Neptune. All right, not sure why. I think that's the first I've kind of noticed this. But Uranus is this erratic, explosive planet. Their energy that it likes to shake up the dynamics of any particular planet that it's coupled to. And I say that just to kind of bring up an issue of a lot of these elements here aren't necessarily typical of, say, Jupiter. Your birthday breakdown didn't necessarily read the way a Jupiter day typically reads. And in no small part, I would say that's because of Neptune a little bit, with the high in the clouds, idealistic nature that comes with Neptune. But more promptly, it's because of Uranus ostensibly shaking things up, I would say, if you were to lean into this astrological bend with everything. So if you find that to be true, or if you see yourself with facing a lot of frustrations and conflict, hey, it may owe in no small part to the cusp nature, as well as this Uranus dynamic shaking everything up. That having been said, Neptune is also said to lend imaginative powers and a kind of magnetism to your personality that ostensibly attracts others. And it's also said to dissolve barriers with personalities that are otherwise absolute. So that may apply to you a little bit there too. So, you know what, if you're finding a little bit of trouble trying to, I don't know, be social with individuals, just know that if you want to lean in on the astrology, that Neptune has the tools there for you, and they're in the mix for you there. So, in any event, hopefully we added a little bit more value to the numbers and planets entry for you. Dive in with a little more, what do you call it, the particulars of each element there. Before we move on to your tarot. That's right. Let's get into the tarot here. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But you know what? We don't necessarily have to go home and start dealing out the cards for ourselves to predict our future, however they're used. But in a lot of cases, these things line up with what's been said in the breakdown. Sometimes not, but more often than not, the cards tend to be pretty apt. So let's get into the card that you drew and see if we can make it line up. All right. The 21st card of the major arcana is the World, which depicts a goddess running while holding energy-giving rods. She surmounts the world and displays the truth, and she has unlimited power. The card symbolizes all that is attainable on the earthly plane, and although reward and integrity are assured, traditionally the card can also indicate monumental obstacles and setbacks, and as well as negative traits of distraction and self-pity, the last of which is particularly harmful to February 21 people. All right, a little bit of a copy-paste job on the tarot here, which is pretty part and parcel for these entries, but they did button it with a little bit of a mention of you there. So that's not normal. Usually they don't do that. So there you go. They gave you a little bit of something, ostensibly to make up for the sparse numbers and planets entry, but probably not. In any event, let's get into the details here. The World, all right? A once-a-month card said to represent all that is attainable on the earthly plane, but not without monumental obstacles and setbacks of fortune, which in no small part probably speaks to just about everyone, I would say. But for you, if the breakdown applies, has an interesting dynamic in that you may be your own obstacle, I would argue. The negativity of self-pity and distraction take on a very unique concern in those regards, I would say. Whereas if the challenges were just environmental, it may in some cases be more straightforward and easier. So yes, I think it's an apt card, if not universal in a lot of cases, but provides a very interesting bit of retrospection for you, I would say, in particular, with all things being considered. So, yeah, just mind that maybe you're not your own obstacle. I don't know. I thought that was rather profound when it occurred to me. They don't say anything like that, but the breakdown kind of made it sound like that could be the case in certain circumstances. So, in any event, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, those born on February 21 are prone to internalize their problems and as a result can ultimately suffer from chronic internal ailments. On a psychological level, those born on this day are prone to deep depressions. Therapy or psychological counseling may be of some help, but normally they have to pull out of it by reorienting themselves. And unassisted, it says. Keeping their diet on an even keel is important, however. Emphasizing the most delicious and tantalizing recipes is often a good way for them to raise their spirits. And strong sexual attachments are par for the course for February 21 people, although not always beneficial to them. And as far as physical exercise is concerned, only light to moderate activity is recommended, perhaps walking or swimming, for example. All right, pretty interesting health entry today. You know, it's been some time since the psychological component was mentioned. Doesn't mean it didn't necessarily apply to other individuals, but you know, it's kind of here and there that they sprinkle that in. Ostensibly because they think it might be beneficial, I would argue. That said, you're prone to, what do they call it? Internalization of your problems, they said, and in turn, chronic ailments. If this wasn't the case, I'm sure it would have been a guess, considering the breakdown, at least in no small part. Depression's also kind of baked into that particular dynamic, I would say. So therapy a natural recommendation in such cases. But this pulling yourself out of it unassisted by yourself, that's a highly novel inclusion in such recommendations. I think it's the first time they've mentioned this much. I would say it also is going to feel that much more valuable if you're able to figure that stuff out for yourself. Let's see, I said to say probably use said depression as a tool to promote self-awareness. So, what can you learn about yourself from this altered, vulnerable state of mind? Yeah, and I also like to say maybe live with it for a little while, but then once I'm tired of this, put it away, all right? It's going to come back up, give it its time, for sure. But then once it's had its time, you tell I gave you your time, it's my time now. We'll revisit. Let's get on with our day, right? Okay. That said, highly unusual that they brought this up to get through it unassisted. What else do I have to say here? Highly structured, tantalizing meals, they said, ostensibly with varied, fresh ingredients. A lot of times they'll bring up very specific foods that people should incorporate into their diet. Here for you, they didn't mention as much, but when this cooking element pops up where people should figure out more culinary skills for themselves, that's where I'm kind of left to think that you're bringing in fresh ingredients, and that's where you're getting your nutrition. That said, low cholesterol and removing animal and dairy fats has been recommended not just for Capricorn, but also Aquarius, and you still fall in on the Aquarius cusp, so a little bit of dynamics in the mix for you there. As far as dairy is concerned, one of the body areas of the Pisces is the lymphatic system, so cutting out the dairy a little bit help you with the mucus and whatnot. And they bring up animal fats and dairy fats to cut out of the diet in Aquarius terms because of heart health and the veins, because the circulatory system is the body area there. Also the lower limbs and the ankles specifically, they say. And then this carries over through to Pisces too. One of the body areas is the feet and the toes. So make sure you're careful of your bones there. They didn't recommend any of this, but on other days they have. So that's why I want to bring it up. They ostensibly ran out of space for you there. I also been recommended for the Aquarius folks to get a set of compression socks because they want to be mindful of avoiding stroke and embolism and varicosities, if you like. And since you're still influenced by that a little bit, it might be of benefit to you. That having been said, that's been your health. So let's move on to some advice. All right, your advice. Develop your social side and don't get so wrapped up in yourself. All right, get out more and reach out to others, stay vital and connected. All right, you know what? Probably might very well be the most sparse piece of advice that I've seen. It wasn't even a line and a half, but that said, I wouldn't say that it didn't have a lot of value. So let's dive into it. I think I filled the rest of the page with my own notes, so let's get into it here. What did I have to say about what they had to say? They said develop your social side, okay? Don't detach. Also branch out from just your confidant, perhaps. It's a huge component the past few periods, and there's been a certain carry-through in a variety, a whole host of different regards. So I would say stay social outside of your typical social web there, if you like. Branch out there. Don't get wrapped up in yourself, they said. And I would say it's easy to do, and in no small part, it may be a huge part of any given difficulties that you face. As we've read in the breakdown, right? They also said get out more, reach out to others, stay vital and connected. Again, this a little more reiteration again. Pretty much part and parcel for the social side, just said different. But I've found sometimes that they do this, like I mentioned. Ostensibly, the point is that important for you that they want to reiterate it. So again, perhaps just hearing it a different way too will help you cotton to it in some other avenue, outside of hearing it more times than one. All right. You might just cotton to a breakthrough, hopefully. All right, so what else do we have here? Again, assuming any of it applies, right? Let's see. At least, see. If anything going through the process, part of being social is getting out to take a break from maybe the depressions that you got going on. because you don't want to be thinking about the same depressing stuff. And I'd say some social encounters are going to help get you out of that. Maybe you're a little nervous because of that particular element itself. You're probably not thinking about the stuff that bothers you on your off time, right? And now you got to make room for other depressing stuff, right? Perhaps being rejected. So, you know what? Something else to maybe worry about. At least you're taking a break from the other thing, right? So stay vital, all right? And all joking aside, I'd say there's a lot of merit to all of this stuff. So maybe at least try it out if it's something you haven't done. Specifically for the introverts there. I know it can be difficult, but try it out, all right? Get outside your comfort zone. Build up a strength maybe you didn't know you had, because a lot of times we can be atrophied with things. But in any event, that's been your advice. So let's move on to your meditation. That's right, it's your birthday, you get a meditation. Something else to reflect upon outside of your own weaknesses and such. That's right. Got to improve and evolve, like they mentioned. All right, here we go, your meditation. One side of the moon is always dark. Interesting. Don't know what to make of it, but once more, one side of the moon is always dark. All right. You know what? These recent meditations have been really good because they just seem kind of almost inaccessible. What is that supposed to mean? Kind of Zen in a way. Though I would say Zen meditations sound a lot more enigmatic than these do. That said, I don't have an interpretation for this or some spin to put on it. And even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. It wouldn't be a benefit to you in that case. It wouldn't be a meditation for you otherwise. So your birthday, your meditation. Once more, one side of the moon is always dark. All right, your meditation in the can, as it were. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror, see where you got the girth, if you like, and where you otherwise maybe a little more deflated or atrophied within the metaphor. That's right. Your strengths. You're emotionally deep, you're self-aware, and you're honest. Interesting. I didn't really necessarily pick up on honest. Not to say it's not true. I just don't remember really reading it in the breakdown. That said, those have been your strengths. So let's move on to your weaknesses. That's right. Let's flip that objective mirror around and get, the side that blows up your face there. Maybe shows off the things you're otherwise a little more superficially insecure about within the metaphor. That's right. Your weaknesses. What are they? You're self-involved, you're dissatisfied. We picked up on that one a little bit. And you're detached. Oh, detached. Yeah, I picked up on that one a little bit too. And what a lot of times I like to argue, our weaknesses, our strengths are going to help us improve upon them, if they even apply. And if they drag us down, hey, our strengths are going to help us improve upon them. That also being said, I've seen weaknesses and strengths trade back and forth before. A couple months back, there was one day impulsive was a strength, and the very next day, it was a weakness. I have to think to myself, where's the disconnect? And I think it just depends on the individual and also the circumstance. And as I say that because a lot of times I think sometimes weaknesses can also be a strength. You're self-involved, dissatisfied, detached. Well, I think I know what they're getting at with these, but being dissatisfied, for instance, you know what? Hey, you might be apt to want to change the dynamic even more so because you're dissatisfied with that. That can be a motivator to get things going, right? And in turn, a strength, all right? What else we have? You're self-involved. You know what? Sometimes we're not going to get things done unless we turn inward, all right? I think I get what they're saying with it being a weakness. You're too focused internally. But again, what can come from that? I would say there are some pros to it as well. And detached, hey, sometimes we got to take time away from everything in order to get some work done, all right? Again, I think I know what they're saying here. You might do it a little bit too much. But I still think there's a case to be made to say that in certain situations, they can be a strength. So, but again, you can improve upon those with just strengths, I would say. You're emotionally deep. Hey, you know what? You're going to do the work to figure out the things to maybe help yourself improve upon those. Self-aware. Hey, you know your limitations in that case, so you know where you maybe got the strength and the weakness to improve upon such things. And you know what? Maybe we can lean into asking our confidant to help us where we're at a deficit, right? And it also said you're honest. You know what? You're honest about it. Boom. Hey, these are where the weaknesses are. You're not trying to sugarcoat it, make yourself feel better, build up your ego because you don't want to admit certain things. Hey, perfect. That said, you want to improve your weaknesses. I also like to argue don't get rid of them altogether because they make us they're a part of who we are. They make us who we are. All right. That said, your strengths and weaknesses having been relayed, let's move on to those born on this day. When we get into those born on this day, not only do we get to see who shares your company, but what I like to do is focus on something I find important, and that is figuring out our passions. I think we can use this as a tool to do as much. Take some inspiration from the things these people did to maybe start stirring up the fires, to figure those things out for ourselves. Because if there's anything I can wish for somebody on their birthday, it's that they're chasing after a passion, that they have some kind of purpose to drive towards. Because too often I get out in the world, I meet individuals and ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it. A lot of times they don't. I don't think you can blame anybody. You get out of school right into a job to make ends meet, because you kind of have to do that, right? But you might pick up the first job that comes your way, and at the very root of it has nothing to do with what you even like, right? You just are trying to get some money in the coffers and pay the bills and such. And then maybe you just get on track, start going up the corporate ladder. Things start getting easier within that particular realm. But again, has nothing to do with anything you like to do. And then at the end of the week, what are you doing? You're rallying for the next week. And you know what? It takes time and effort to figure out things that we like, let alone our passions a lot of times, I would argue. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to start bothering you a little bit about carving out that time, making that time, because it takes time and effort, I would say. So let's do that. Let's use this as a little bit of an inspiration to get you doing as much. All right, let's get into it here. We have a nice Nin, all right, a French-American writer and a diarist of 60 volumes, an artist's model, a dancer, an affair with Henry Miller, it says. And it says erotic works, Henry and June and Delta of Venus. We also have W.H. Auden, a British-American poet, Nina Simone, a jazz singer, a pianist, and a songwriter. Constantine Brancusi, a Romanian sculptor, Sam Peckinpah, a film director of The Wild Bunch, and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. We also have John Henry Newman, a Catholic cardinal and philosopher, and responsible for Apologia Pro Vita Sua. We also have Irma Bombeck, a writer of The Grass is Always Greener Over the Septic Tank. She was a humor columnist. We also have Robert Mugabe, a Zimbabwe president and prime minister. We also have Tyne Daly, a TV actress of Lacey and Cagney, Cagney and Lacey, rather. And she played Lacey. All right, and what else do we have here? Also a singer and a Broadway entertainer, and famous for Gypsy as well. We have Hubert de Givenchy, French fashion designer. We also have Barbara Jordan, a U.S. Congresswoman and a House Judiciary Committee member. We also have Tad Dameron, T-A-D-D Dameron, a jazz composer, a arranger, a band leader, and a pianist. We also have Alexei Kosygin, a Soviet statesman and a Communist Party official. We have Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, a Mexican revolutionary general dictator, and it says massacred the Texas garrison at the Alamo. Interesting. And died poverty-stricken in exile. So some highs and some lows, all right? But still made history. There you go. We have Marguerite von Trotta, film director of Rosa Luxemburg, also an actress, and married Volkner Schlafendorf. We also have August von Wassermann, a German bacteriologist. And test for syphilis is something that they're famous for. We also have Petra Kronberger, an Austrian alpine ski racer and a World Cup winner. We also have Anne Sheridan, a film TV actress and known for being the Oomph Girl. We also have Rue McClanahan, a TV actress, and Blanche of Golden Girls. And we also have William Falconer, a sea poet of The Shipwreck, and died in a shipwreck. Interesting. Little self-fulfilling prophecy, it sounds like there. Not to make light of it, but just interesting. That having been said, I know it's a big-ass tall order to take inspiration from other people's accomplishments, but like I said, if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're driving after a passion. But to do that, we got to make the time and put into work to carve out how we do that, right? But if you already have a passion figured out, well then, the hat I'm not wearing is off to you in those regards. So hopefully you just took some interest in who shares your birthday. But that having been said, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading, except to say your season is winter, your sign once again is Pisces of the Aquarius Pisces cusp, and your quality and elements is mutable water. What does that mean? Well, that's a whole host of different videos altogether. I'll leave a few of them at the end there for you if you're interested in finding out more. But this has been February 21st, the day of intimacy, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Gust Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy. It's right above a personal message I like to put together for you folks. But you know what? This thing makes an excellent coffee table book, especially if you need to, I don't know, say, get the conversation started at a party you may be hosting, especially for you introverts there who don't know how to do the heavy lifting with such regards. Say, you know what? That's how this book was introduced to me. They read my birthday out to me. I didn't think it lined up at all, and then they made their arguments, and then I had to agree with them because they made some salient points. I just had to change my perspective a little bit, and boom, I was like, oh, it does line up totally. But that having been said, book is altogether all too important in the scheme of things. And the scheme of things being, like I said at the top, it's your birthday, and so it's important around here, once again, wishing you a happy birthday. So happy birthday, all right? But for everybody else who joined us today randomly or more ideally to celebrate, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourselves, took something of value from it, even though it wasn't your birthday. But you know what? If you want something a little more valuable and specific, well, I hope we see you over for your birthday read. But lest I forget before I take us out, that's right, your daily numbers. Get out there, let the universe show you it's with you on your path. And if you see, taste, touch, smell, intuit, even just a little bit of the magic that can come from stacking up coincidences, you know what? I think you're going to see why I brought it up. All right. So that having been said, once again, I just want to say happy birthday. I want to thank you for the pleasure of your time. It's been a privilege to celebrate your birthday with you. I really enjoy doing these things for folks. So once again, happy birthday, all right? Take care of yourselves, all right? Don't use that depression if you got it as a tool to further discover something about yourself and get yourself some compression socks in the mix. You got the last few days of Aquarius influencing you folks, so don't take lightly the stroke and the risk of embolisms and such, all right? Got to take care of yourselves, all right? Once again, happy birthday. Be well.